Yo, hi everyone. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about how Destiny 2's matchmaking works, along with a few other games. So I made a tweet the other day talking about how I believe SBMM 2.0 is what has been killing arena shooters and not arena shooters actually being bad themselves. So I want to elaborate more on what SBMM 2.0 actually means. I made that term up, SBMM 2.0. I was just using that to describe the change between how SBMM used to work and how it works nowadays. But also in this video, I'm going to describe to you how Destiny's matchmaking works and also how I believe I could fix it, or things that I would test to try to fix it. Because obviously, just because something looks good on paper does not mean it is actually going to work. It's also one of the reasons why, when the community outcries for something and then Bungie implements it and they're like, oh wow, we did what you said and it didn't work, it was bad. It's like, okay, next step, we need to try again, do something different. The whole point is we need to test things because the current way the game works is not fun. People aren't liking it. Right now, according to DMG, Destiny 2 PvP has the worst player sentiment that it's ever had for matchmaking. And if it has the worst player sentiment for matchmaking, then why haven't they changed it? So I'm just going to talk about a lot of this stuff right now. So if you're interested in this topic, stick around. There's a lot of debates to be had about SBMM and how SBMM works. And a lot of people are like, oh, SBMM's terrible, SBMM's good, oh, we want SBMM, we don't want SBMM. But SBMM inherently can be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. It really depends on how it's implemented. So for ranked games, you want your matches to be close. You want to have very strict skill-based matchmaking where all the players are strictly close together and, you're beating players that are nearly as good as you and you're going up in rank, and you're losing to them, you're going down. But the problem comes in social when games use very strict skill-based matchmaking, very tight matchmaking parameters, make it to where matchmaking takes a long time, and then every match is stressful, regardless of your skill. The best player, the worst player, the middle ground players, any of you guys, if skill-based matchmaking is strict in a social setting, it is supposed to create fair matches. But when it's trying to create exceptionally fair matches all the time, every game you play, to create equal amounts of fun for everybody, instead you end up in a situation where you're making equal amounts of stress for everybody. I don't know who believes that the worst player in the world should be winning and losing at 50% win rate, and the best player in the world should also be winning and losing 50% win rate, but I just simply disagree with that. The better you get, the more you should be winning. The worse you are, the more you should be losing. That's just kind of how it works. But anyway, here it is. Gonna explain how Destiny 2's matchmaking is working, why it's so frustrating, and then I'm going to explain how I would personally try to change it. I have two different variations of that I would like to try, or I'd love Bungie to test in a Crucible Labs or something. So first things first, according to DMG, according to Bungie, Destiny 2 does not use SBMM, skill-based matchmaking, to match you. Some people disagree with that. Some people say, oh, there's no way that's true. They think that it is in the game and whatever their setting is doesn't actually work. But we are going to go through this as if what Bungie is saying is true and SBMM is not in the game, and take their word for it that is the truth, okay? Besides all that, the way Destiny works, the way it matchmakes, is that it's going to look for a bunch of players with reasonable connections. It's going to match you with the players. There's 12 players are found in Destiny for Control. We're going to stick with Control for this. And then once the 12 players are found, it pairs you all together, and then every player has something in the background called your individual MMR. This is your skill rating. This is how the game determines how skilled it thinks you are. If SBMM was on, it would use this to find other players within a similar range that have similar MMR to you. So MMR is skill rating, your skill. That is the term I'm going to be using for the rest of the video. So Destiny searches for players, tries to find reasonable connections, and if the connection is tolerable, it is going to match you with 12 players. I don't know what Bungie considers tolerable connection, because if you've played Destiny, the connections aren't very tolerable most of the time. I'm playing people from 15 continents over, from Narnia, the moon. I don't even know where these people are from. They're literally living in the Shadow Realm. Whatever, dude. I don't know. But Destiny 2 matches you with these 12 players. It disregards your skill, your MMR in the background, to find them. Once it finds the match, this is the problem. This is why, even though they removed SBMM, the games didn't really inherently change much. The difficulty is the same. It's very annoying and frustrating. The problem is that it is still tracking your MMR in the background, and then when the lobby is trying to balance the teams, there is no cap to how much one individual player's MMR could affect the lobby. So what happens is that it's trying to make both teams have an average MMR that is similar. So I'm going to make up numbers. The numbers are just, these aren't the actual numbers or the percentages. Basically, if you assigned each player a skill rating 1 through 12 once it started, one of the players MMR is too high, the player who would be number 1 in the skill ranking here, it will make it to where that person who MMR is an outlier gets number 8 through 12 on their team in terms of skill. And then the enemy team is going to be number 2 in skill through number 7 in skill. So one team has 1 player better than everybody, and then it has 5 players worse than everybody else in the lobby. The enemy team is going to be the second best player in the lobby through the top 7. So every single player on their team is better than every player on the enemy team or your team, except for 1 player. This makes it to where 5 players in pretty much every match are having a miserable time. Now with SBMM enabled, when this happens, it's still really annoying, okay? But those players, those 5 worst players, are significantly better. They're much more likely to be at least relatively close to the enemy teams. But without SBMM, which is how Destiny 2 operates now, the player pools are so wide that you don't even really need an outlier anymore. As long as you have such a huge population and the player pool is this wide, there will almost always be a player with significantly higher MMR than all the other players, and this will always happen. There will always be 5 players that are the worst in the lobby against 6 players that are better than them. And this is where most of the frustration with Destiny's matchmaking comes in. So Bungie thought by just disabling SBMM and keeping team balancing, we'd all be happy. But it is a team game. You're not playing against 6 people that are, randomly generated. You are playing against 6 real people with 5 people that are all worse than those 6 players. They can't win their fights. They can't do anything. Usually they can't even do damage relative to the enemy team. And they're having a frustrating time, and then you also still feel like SBMM is on because the players you're playing against are just going to have more teamwork because your teammates are dead. They're going to be putting in more damage because your teammates are dead. They're going to have better positioning and better map control and more zone advantages because, again, your team is dead. They're going to be generating more supers. They're getting all of this stuff because all 6 of them are better than 5 of your teammates. This isn't going to happen to all of you because, some of you are going to be more average or less than average or whatever. Even if you're a middle skilled player, this can still happen to you all the time. If you're one of the bottom skilled players, you're probably going to be on that team all the time. So when you're complaining that, oh, SBMM is off, and SBMM being off is what's ruining my experience, it's not. What's ruining your experience is you are being put on a team with somebody that the game expects to carry you, and you are being put against these 6 people better than you. That's how Destiny's matchmaking works. That's where a lot of the frustrations from the players are coming from. And I believe this is where the disconnect is with Bungie and the player base and SBMM right now. So anyway, with all that said, these are some of the things that I would personally test to try to fix this. So step 1, this is if we do not turn SBMM back on. So I have multiple scenarios here. If we do not turn skill-based matchmaking back on, my idea to fix the team balancing situation in the game to make it to where the matches are more fun would to be when the game starts, it assigns a player 1 through 12, and we're going to cap MMR basically. And the way to cap MMR in this situation is we're going to ignore it. Once we assign the players a skill rating 1 through 12, we are going to sort the teams through a ladder system. So player 1 goes with player 12, and then enemy team is player 2, player 11. Then that first team is player 3 and player 10, etc. When you sort the teams like this, both teams end up with a value of 39 when you combine each player. And in this situation, your matches are going to be a lot more fun because every single player in the game has at least 1 player on the enemy team that they are better than them, that they could actually compete against. There's 1 player, obviously the last place player in the game, number 12, who will not have somebody that they're better than, but number 12 will have player number 1 on their team, and that should help them out quite a bit. And yeah, some of the time these matches aren't going to be the most fair in the world, and some of the times they are, but that's kind of the fun of gaming is, the game isn't just telling you, yeah, you're going to win 50% of your games and lose 50% of your games. Sometimes you go in and you freaking destroy. Sometimes you go in and you get destroyed. Sometimes you go in and you have a crazy close match. And those variances and those differences in your matches are what make gaming inherently fun. If every game is the same, every match is going to be close, every match is equal, every match is a nail biter, it kind of removes the variety of how the game feels. Instead of some games being really fun and then some of them being, kind of frustrating, every game's just average. You're just having an average time all the time. And nobody wants to, get on your game and just have an average time every single match. It's not fun. Like, one of the reasons I believe BRs are so popular is the idea that each match is unfair. They are inherently unfair. Every match you get into, sometimes you have bad RNG, sometimes you have good RNG. When you have the good RNG, you get to be the unfair advantage this time. And that is kind of how I would design matchmaking. Some matches are going to be a little unfair, not so unfair that it's ridiculous, but they're, sometimes you're going to get stomped. Sometimes you're going to stomp. Phase 2, if that doesn't work to fix your games, the game, we're going to turn on SBMM. I know, SBMM, scary. Anyway, I would turn SBMM back on. Brand new players who have no idea how to play shooters, players that are literally shooting walls and can't even melee you, they shouldn't be in your game. If you're really good at this game, if you have hundreds, thousands hours, if you're a top 1% player, 2.0 KD, whatever, you shouldn't be playing people that are brand new. I shouldn't be playing people that are brand new at Destiny 2. So I would turn SBMM back on, but I would not use it the typical way. The typical way that you use it in ranked, it's specifically is where it is going, say you're at 1,000 MMR, your skill ranking, and it is going to search for people at 1,000 MMR and expand as the search time gets longer to find people as close to your MMR as possible. I have 2 separate methods that I would like to try, different testing. Don't know which one would work better. We'd have to see. One of the ways that I would like to test is there would be MMR pools. So I'm just making up numbers here. I don't know Destiny's numbers or how their skill rankings work, but basically you'd have 0 to 500, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1,500, etc. But eventually it would cap off. We would have a cap on this so that it doesn't get to the point where people just can't find matches and it just becomes ridiculous. So like 1,500 would just go to infinite MMR. Because if you have an MMR go on forever, becoming the best in the entire world is literally pointless. You're just going to end up never being able to find a game again. Stuff like that. It's really stupid. If you are at a point where you're near the very top, you should not be being babysat and protected from people just a little bit better than you. At the bottom, you definitely should be protected from the people that are at the top. So basically, there would be MMR pools 0 to 500, etc. And what it would do is if you're within the 0 to 500 MMR range, your search would look for anybody within that range, and it would search for them based on connection. So you're 450 elo, and somebody is searching that's 125 MMR. You guys could still match each other if your connections are good together, and it would just match you up like that. And then it would balance based off of the way that I said earlier, the 1 through 12 system. This system should create matches that are fairly balanced. They will be fun. They will be different. There will be a variety in your matches altogether. Some of the matches you're going to get destroyed. Some of them, you're going to stomp again. But the players in the games will be a lot closer in the skill than they are currently with no SBM at all. Problem with this system that I thought about is that if you are like a 500 MMR player in this situation and you're not getting better, you're kind of just stuck at 500 MMR, you are going to be stomping your lobbies all the time as if you're, one of the best players ever, when you're really just, you're playing in this the kiddie pool that it's holding you in. So this leads me to my second idea. So very similar scenario. It's going to be sort of like that MMR pool, but the MMR pool is going to follow you. So let's say that you are 1250 MMR. The game would be searching between like 1750 MMR and maybe 750 MMR or something like that. And then it would search within that MMR range for the players with the best connection. It's not trying to find the closest ones to you. It's trying to find them within your range. And then it is going to match you on connection. And then when it balances the lobby through the 1 through 12 system that I stated, your matches should still be fairly good. They should be fun. And then, yeah, when you rank up, once you get to like 1350, now the game is searching for 1850 and 850 MMR players and within that bracket. And this would also still have a cap there. If you reach literally like 2000 MMR or whatever, 5000 MMR, you're still 2000 MMR. That is how I would fix matchmaking. I sent all of that feedback about how I would change matchmaking to DMG. And if you want more videos like this where I go over things, I do this stuff on Twitch all the time, and I rant all the time on Twitch. I always think I'm kind of annoying about it, to be honest. And I always thought, I'm not going to upload that stuff to YouTube, but maybe you guys do want to hear it. So if you enjoyed the video, let me know. And then, yeah, let me know about your ideas about this and how you think it should go too. Thank you for watching. Twitch.tv/GameSager.